Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. I've had my mother on my mind this week because Sunday is the day designated for all Americans to celebrate the awesome women that we call our moms and grandmoms, stepmoms, godmoms, moms in love, and so many other mother figures that make our lives so more enriched. So while we should absolutely recognize our mother figures every single day, I'm asking all Savannahans to take a little time this week to do something extra special for the remarkable women who have always had your back. And I know I'm going to do something extra special for the ones that have had mine. Also this week, all across America, people will celebrate Cinco De Mayo on the 5th of May, which is Thursday. The significance of this day traces back to the anniversary of Mexico's victory over the French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. Led by General Zaragoza, the victory of a smaller, poorly equipped Mexican force against a larger, better armed French army was a morale boost for the Mexican people. Kind of like Ukraine, but more popular in the United States than in Mexico. Cinco de Mayo has become associated with the celebration of Mexican-American culture. Celebrations began in California, where they've been observed annually since 1863. The day gained nationwide popularity in the 1980s. And in Mexico, the commemoration of the battle continues to be mostly ceremonial, such as though military parades or battle reenactments. The city of Puebla marks the event with various festivals and reenactments of the battle. So we are celebrating with our Mexican Savannahans, and so we're saying on Thursday and for this weekend, if you're going to celebrate, do so by all means, but do it safely. That celebration gives way to another celebration, and we know that it's now graduation season. So we send shouts out and congratulations to all of our Savannah State University graduate and undergraduate students who will receive their degrees this Friday from T.A. Wright Stadium. And our city is extremely proud of you and your accomplishments, and we hope that many of them will consider the city of Savannah to start their careers. Yesterday, I was excited to be with Chief Mentor and City Manager Jay Melder as we welcomed 8 new officers to the Savannah Police Department, and we promoted 8 others to the rank of captain, lieutenant, and sergeant. As always, I'm always happy to be a part of these celebrations for a variety of reasons. Most importantly, because in the battle for talent, whenever we're able to bring new people aboard, it means that we're winning. And so we got 8, and again, that's 8 with every department in the country fighting for the best and brightest. As Chief Mentor noted yesterday, some of the individuals have prior or current military service, so we are very supportive, and some have prior law enforcement. So I'm reminding our citizens and law enforcement, if you want a great career with an outstanding organization, consider the Savannah Police Department. And of course, consider Team Savannah. And so we're excited to have these new officers and these officers in a new capacity to serve in our community. And we know that retention and recruitment has been difficult for law enforcement agencies. So we're keeping the fight on, we're plugging away, and we're going to keep the best and brightest on Savannah streets and the Savannah neighborhoods. I have said before that I don't want to hire just to have warm bodies. As a human resources professional, I will tell you that a bad hire is more disastrous than no hire at all. So I want us to continue to be very judicious and very thorough in our hiring processes We want people who are going to add to our community, make bright decisions, have the opportunity to think very critically, and to have great judgment. So, we'll continue to look and pick and recruit and bring people aboard. Summer Fun and Safety 2022 is just a couple of weeks away, and we want to remind everybody that we have our younger generations covered with a plethora of activities to take part in, from jobs to camps to pop-up activities. There will be something for everyone. As of yesterday, grants for neighborhood pride teams, which are a part of the Youth Employment Initiative, became available for neighborhood associations to apply. So if your neighborhood is interested in the program or to find out more information, they can go to savannahga.gov/summer fun. savannahga.gov/summer fun. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to go to Bowes Ford Park with the PAL. I think they were 8 and under or 6 and under baseball team, and I hit the winning hit, and I'm feeling it this morning. It's important for our young people to be actively engaged, and I'm just proud that our city is doing that. Part of our crime reduction strategy has to be to make sure that we're not focusing on young people who are not doing the right things. We have to spend considerable time, effort, and energy on young people who are making it happen every single day. And so I'm just, again, proud of these police officers who, of their own time and effort, were out there mentoring these young people. And some of them are going to be in the major leagues one day, and they'll say they got their start from PAL. We are also pleased to announce another grant program that's available for small businesses impacted by COVID-19. As I think we've talked about before, the City of Savannah's Small Business Recovery Program will provide limited financial assistance in the form of grants to small businesses directly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Eligible businesses can receive up to $10,000 in federal grant funds made available by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. Interested businesses are encouraged to join our Human Services Department's Small Business Recovery Program for an in-person session tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. at the Coastal Georgia Center at 305 Farm Street, or on Saturday, May the 7th, beginning at 10 a.m. at the Pennsylvania Avenue Resource Center, otherwise known as the Park, at 425 Pennsylvania Avenue. And if you can't make those on this Thursday, we will have a virtual information session on Thursday at 10 a.m. via Zoom. And so the links can be found in the top story section of our award-winning savannahga.gov. You can also pick up applications at the following locations: the aforementioned Park at 425 Pennsylvania Avenue, the Savannah Entrepreneur Center at 801 East Gwinnett Street, the Moses Jackson Advancement Center at 1410 Richard Street in West Savannah. For more information or eligibility requirements, call or visit www.savannahga.gov/SBRP. savannahga.gov/SBRP. Or call 912-651-6488. As we continue to address the needs of affordable housing in our community, the City of Savannah has been hosting and will continue to host a series of aldermanic district meetings to discuss current standards and identify ways to allow more flexibility for what's known as accessory dwelling units. As we've said before, an accessory dwelling unit, or known as the ADU, is a structure used as an individual residential unit located on the same lot as the principal dwelling. And they're known as carriage houses, in-law units, and secondary dwelling units. The district meetings will continue through next week, and details can be found on the homepage of savannahga.gov, savannahga.gov. The city will host additional community-wide meetings and release a community survey of feedback on ADU utilization as the process continues. The City of Savannah will host 2 Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee meetings to review the draft methodology report. A Zoom meeting to provide an overview will take place tomorrow, and an in-person meeting to discuss the report on May the 11th. And more information can be found about that, again, on savannahga.gov. Impact fees, as you know, are one-time fees charged to land developers to help defray the cost of expanding capital facilities to serve new growth. And local governments have the ability to charge new developments for a proportionate share of the infrastructure capacity that they require. State law requires and places restrictions on categories of capital facilities for which new developments can be charged, and also establishes rules under which impact fees must be calculated, collected, expanded, accounted for, and administered. And this has been a strategic goal of not only myself before this council, but now totally of this council. And so we've appointed members to serve in an advisory capacity to assist and advise City Council regarding the adoption of a development impact fee ordinance. Since the committee is advisory in nature, no action of the committee is necessary or is a prerequisite for municipal action in regard to the adoption of the ordinance. Also, we're looking and watching COVID. Nationwide, cases are up 30%. Locally, we have cases that are up. The other indicators are low. But we also know by looking at other areas in the country, New York, DC, and those other areas, we know people are all over the place. So I'm reiterating our desire that all of our citizens are vaccinated, all of our citizens are boosted, and now a second booster is available. And so I'm planning at some point this week to go ahead and get my second boost. As someone who has had COVID, I don't want it again. And so we recognize that this can be a challenging dilemma for not only small businesses, but also our workforce. And so we're asking Savannahans, again, let's not assume or act or believe or live under the fallacy that COVID-19 is out of our vocabulary. We're way better than we used to be. I am not inclined to add or place any more restrictions at this point. However, we're watching the horizon. And so we're watching infections, we're watching hospitalizations, we're watching deaths, and we're also watching the emergence of at least 2 variations, new variations of COVID. And we know as people travel, they go over, you know, I was on an airplane last week, you know, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. I wore a mask the entire time and will continue to. So we're asking our citizens to still be vigilant. Let's still follow the science. And so as much as I hate shots, I can't stand them, but I'm going to get one because I don't want COVID. And so I'm going to make sure that we respect COVID. And so you know, please keep that in mind as we look forward. Finally, it is election season. So absentee ballots for the May 24th statewide primary were mailed out this week. So if you registered for one, please be on the lookout for it. Early in-person voting began yesterday and goes until May the 20th. And a full list of locations can be found at voter.chathamcountyga.gov, voter.chathamcountyga.gov. And it's very important, particularly with all that's going on, that people make sure that they are registered. And we know that there have been some purging going on. And so I've done it the other day. It only took me maybe less than a minute to do. If you go to mvp.sos.ga.gov, mvp.sos.ga.gov, and ensure not only that you're registered to vote, to also get a sample ballot so you know who you're voting for. You can do your research. All elections are important. And I will tell you that last weekend we had every single statewide candidate in Savannah, from the governor's race on down. And so that tells us that the coast is important. Savannah will figure again very prominently in statewide elections. And my message to every candidate that I spoke to was that Savannah matters, and we expect Savannah, our community, to be respected in that. So we want to make sure that people are engaged in this process. And so with all of the voter change and the laws and all of these things, at the end of the day, people just have to get in and they have to vote. So again, you can go to a full list of locations, voter.chathamcountyga.gov, and you can check your registration and your polling location at mvp.sos.ga.gov. So again, vote, vote, vote. That ends my prepared remarks, and I will entertain any questions you may have.
Good morning. So with the shootings that happened here, killed local residents, now it's being confirmed that the shooting that happened on April 24th killed someone who lived in London. What are your thoughts on that and how that shooting could impact future tourism?
It doesn't. I think we've said very clearly before, it's unfortunate when anyone in our gates, in our community is victimized. Again, that's not the narrative of Savannah. I think that the police are, not only have they made an arrest, they'll soon release what the facts are in that case. So that's where we are with it. It's unfortunate. We made an arrest. There's a story to be told, and we'll wait for the story to be told. Savannah is still a wonderful, safe place for not only tourists, but more importantly for our residents. And again, for people historically here who have beef with each other, who've been engaged in some type of beef with each other, some disagreement with each other, and a gun is involved, there's often that type of result. So that's not our narrative, and so we're not going to keep perpetuating, that narrative. So if I don't spend a lot of time there, excuse me, but that's just not where we are.
I mean, do you all as a city, are you all looking at ways to, we've asked these questions before as these shootings happening in tourist areas? I mean, closing the areas down?
Again, we're more important, we're more concerned about people who live every day. And every week we get here and we talk about the plethora of things that the city is doing as it relates to that. Savannah is a special place because it's a place for people to live. And so what we're doing for our residents also affects our tourists. It's not the other way around.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. I'm good.
Good. So there were some reports that came out, I guess, last night now that the Roe v. Wade court ruling may be struck down soon. I actually saw that there's a protest planned outside of City Hall for later on this afternoon.
I'll be joining them.
Any thoughts on that?
It's unfortunate. Men should not make decisions about the disposition of women's bodies. And I think that's the bottom line. Who am I to determine the physical being of a woman? It's unfortunate. This is unprecedented with this leaked majority decision. I hope it's not true. And so certainly we always welcome demonstrations done peaceably in accordance with the constitutional rights to do so. But I just think that this is if it's true, is a huge, huge step backward. If I think about it in the other, what if a body of women required men to get vasectomies? It's that type of thing. Who are we to make those types of decisions? I think that although personally I'm probably more pro-life, but I believe it's a woman's right to choose. That's the inherent right to be able to do so. And so, you know, this is just a very strange, interesting, and concerning time in our nation's history. And so we'll see what happens.
And going off, you said you'll be joining in anything specific you kind of hope comes out of later on today? Or?
Well, again, I mean, you know, it does not affect what happens in D.C. However, it brings awareness to it locally. What happens in D.C. affects people in Savannah every single day. And I think that people should have the ability to make sure that our state and our federal officials, to include our representative, our 2 senators, are very clear about how we feel as it relates to that. And so I'll be making some calls throughout this week as well. You know, you know, it's unbelievable. You wouldn't think that now, I guess, 50 years ago, that we would be talking about this.
And changing the pace here, you got the Savannah Small Business Conference going on Thursday.
I forgot to mention that.
Anything specific you hope comes out of that?
Well, again, we're showing some major love to our small businesses. You know, small businesses are the cog of Savannah. I mean, when you look at why Savannah's economy has done so well, particularly during this worldwide pandemic, it's because small businesses have kept our burners on. They've continued to work. And so this is an opportunity for us not only to bring them together, but also to get information out, to share resources. And so this is something we used to do some years ago. I'm very happy to be able to bring it back. And so we want to make sure that we're providing the resources and really to find out from our small businesses how the city can better help serve them. There might be things that we can help to do in terms of information, in terms of relationships, in terms of allocation of resources that we might be able to help. So this is an opportunity to hear from them as well. So I'm excited about it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Did you have a chance to attend the meeting last night at the Civic Center with the faith leaders and members of the community coming together? I think that was all about urging local leaders to take action on affordable housing, pre-trial detention. Did you have that?
I was not familiar with the meeting. Was not aware of it.
Gotcha.
What was this a meeting of?
What was that?
What was the meeting of?
That they were just urging local leaders to take action on affordable housing and pre-trial detention. That's all I had. I wasn't in attendance either. I was just wondering if you were.
No, but I mean, I think you know, the city is leading that conversation. I mean, when you look at $18 million on affordable housing, on the last agenda, we helped to float a bond of over $1 million to help get low-income tax credits for a property that we own on Drayton Street. You know, when we're looking at still receiving funds for affordable housing, for our affordable housing fund. So again, I mean, I think we're above, we're beyond that. We've been meeting with ministers, I think, throughout this process. You know, I think the ones that I met with initially were asking for, you know, $5 million from ARPA funds, and I think from that in the budget we did $18 million. So there are other communities other than Savannah, and I think that we have to look at those other communities. If that's you know, the county, other municipalities, we're not the only game in town, and so I support, and I'm glad that faith leaders are engaged in that. But I'll also submit that faith leaders have a role to play as well. They have churches, mosques, synagogues, and temples in which they can acquire property in Georgia as well to help provide affordable housing. So we all have a role to play. The city is going to lead that work, but we also need help.
Another thing, I know one of the task force that you created last year on the topic of not necessarily pre-trial detention, but when folks get out of incarceration.
Yes.
That task force.
It's called ARCS. It's the Advocates for Restorative Communities of Savannah.
Excellent. How's the work with that task force going?
I think it's going well, albeit a little slow. I think that we had reached the most that we could do prior to, well, being in a virtual environment. I mean, now that things are open, we've talked about having these welcome home celebrations, but basically it's a resource fair for those that are returning home from jails and prisons. We have a variety of positions here available at the City of Savannah. We are an employer that believes in second chances, so we've encouraged people to come and have your second chance with the City of Savannah. We'll soon be highlighting and uplifting second chance employers. We'll be uplifting and highlighting folks who give second chance housing. And again, really bringing resources together in terms of clothing. We've been petitioning our state. For example, when folks get out of jails and prisons, they come home, they don't have a driver's license. You know, something very simple to establish identity often is a big problem for many of our justice-involved individuals. So I think we'll be, you'll see more from that committee now that we are out of that. You know, again, it's a transition, you know, planning in a virtual environment and now moving into more. But again, I think that, you know, houses of faith and faith leaders have a role to play with that as well. When people come home, they come home to a city, but they also need to come home to a faith community. So I'm very interested in what those faith communities are doing in terms of outreach, in terms of making sure that they have a church home or a mosque home or a synagogue home or a temple home. What are those organizations doing to make sure that these folks feel welcomed, that they're reconnected to their families, and that they have a community of faith that is embracing them. So again, we're all in this together. The City of Savannah is not the only player in this. There's a county, there are other municipalities, and so again, I don't think that it was directed towards us because we're leading, but I just think everybody needs to be on board.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anything else? All right. Well, it's a beautiful weekend. We're going to hit 90s for the first time this year, this week. We're hoping soon to debut our heating and cooling stations. So we'll have more about that when it comes out. First time in our city's history. But again, you know, we have to have places when it gets, you know, dastardly hot for people to be able to go and for them to get out of the heat. And so city manager is working on those prototypes, and so we're excited about what that'll mean for our community as well. So God bless. Have a great week.